Alright, in this video we're going to take a look at how to use Desmos to simplify square roots. So if we type in the square root of 45 into our calculator, it's going to give us a decimal approximation, about 6.708. And a lot of times we want exact answers and simplified answers for square roots and such. And the square root of 45, the exact simplified answer is 3 times the square root of 5. And I can check that on my calculator by typing in 3 and then square root of 5. And, well, I wanted to go down to the next one here. 3 square root of 5. And it gives me the same answer, same decimal answer. So how can we use this to go from square root of 45 to 3 times the square root of 5? I'll clear that out. And first thing I want to do is go to this little plus sign and click it for add item. And then go down to table. So you'll be given an x1 and a y1, and just going to go ahead and delete the y1. And what we're going to type in is we're going to type in this radicand of 45, and then we're going to divide it by, since it's a square root, we want to take the numbers in this x1 column, so we'll do x1, and then we want to square them. And right now the x1 list is empty, so we're going to start to populate it, but what's going to happen is it's going to take whatever we type in this case, first one is 1, take 45 and divide it by 1 squared, and we get 45. Then the next one is 2, 3, 4, and we can stop once we get a value that's below 1. So what we want to do is we want to find the smallest integer in this second column, this one that has all these decimals. Find the smallest integer in this column, and in that case the smallest integer is 5. So the 5 is what goes inside the square root, the 3 is what goes outside the square root. So in essence what we're doing is by taking this 45 and dividing it by x squared or x1 squared, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the largest perfect square in this column that goes into 45. And the larger that this number is that goes into square that goes into 45, the smaller this column's numbers will be. And remember, for it to go into 45 means it can't give us a decimal when we divide. So as far as the largest perfect square that goes into 45, the biggest perfect square that goes into 45 is 9. It's the square root of 9 times the square root of 5, and the square root of 9 is 3 times square root of 5. So that's how we can use Desmos to help with our square roots. All right, so I'm just going to change this just to do another example. 324. Now let's not do that. Let's do 325. We get 18. So we're going to use the same table, but now I want to change the 45 to 325. And I could keep going, trying to find that smallest integer. Again, once I get below 1, I'm not going to get an integer here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So the smallest integer in this second column is 13. So the square root of 325 is the square root of 25, which is 5, times the square root of 13. So square root of 25 times square root of 13 is 3 square root of 325, and that gives us 5 times square root of 13. And we can check that just to make sure it's correct. If we type in 5 times the square root of 13, 5 square root 13, we do in fact get the same number. All right, but now what happens if we try to do a different root besides square root? Let's say we try to take the cube root. So we go to functions and miscellaneous and type in, let's do the cube root of, let's do 54. So this time we're taking the cube root of a number. Well, it's very similar. We're going to go into table and we're going to delete this out. We don't need it. You can keep it if you want. We're going to take the same radicand of 54, but this time instead of dividing it by x1 squared, we're going to divide it by x1 cubed because we're dealing with cube root. So here we have the a to the b button. It's cubed. So this is going to give us the biggest perfect cube that goes into 54, which can help us simplify it better. So we have 1, 2, 3, and we're below 1. So the smallest integer in this column is 2. So the cube root of 54 is the cube root of 2 times the cube root of 27, or 3 for the cube root of 27 times cube root of 2. So the cube root of 54 is 3 times the cube root of 2. And if we check that, 3 times the cube root of 2, we get that same decimal answer. So that's how you can use Desmos to help you simplify square roots, or any kind of root for that matter, and get an exact answer. So hope you found this